Hello, everyone. Well, it's been a really rough week for Floridians. Um, Hurricane Ian blew through town and was through all of Florida and parts of South Carolina and North Carolina and Virginia. And the the Northeast is going to get hit with torrential rain as well. And so we know that the Hurricane Ian was really bad. It was a Category 4 hurricane, and it blew through Florida, completely devastating the state. It was a monster storm. It was huge. It covered the whole state. The whole state of Florida was completely covered with Hurricane Ian. Now, they're actually attributing these hurricanes to climate change. They've made the connection between climate change and the hurricanes, and I have to agree with that. Climate change is causing these monster storms because there were never storms like this when I was growing up. When I was just a kid, that you would hear about a hurricane at most like once every 5 years or so, and then it gradually increased to one a year, and then now there's like 10 of them per year, and it's just unreasonable, and there's a monster storm almost every single year. So it's a very sad situation caused by climate change. So we do need to address climate change with personal actions and maybe laws. You know, maybe the law has to step in to see that we take care of the environment. Transition to clean sources of fuel that don't release carbon emissions into the atmosphere as much as some of the other forms of energy do. And that would include wind, solar, hydroelectric. You can even get electricity from heat from the ground, but only in certain states in the Union. Not all states have heat from the ground electricity. But yeah, you can get heat from the ground. Did you know that? Did you know that you can heat your home with heat from the ground, and you can even generate electricity from heat from the ground. So it's really good. It's a good way to conserve natural resources. We're running out of fuel, and we have to have fuel. So, as a civilization may collapse in about 10 or 20 years when we run out of fossil fuels. So we'll still have coal, which is a dirty source of energy, but we won't have gasoline anymore. We have about 500 years worth of coal, but gasoline is running out because we use so much of it. And I try to live, as humbly as possible. I don't use a lot of fossil fuels in my life. So I'm very conservative of resources. But fossil fuels need to be conserved. We have to have them, and we're burning through our supply. We need to conserve our supply. So that's one reason to go green. And the people of Florida were completely devastated by this. They lost their homes, they lost their businesses, they lost their boats. The boats flew onto the land and landed in people's yards. And there were boats everywhere. Boats on on land. It had gotten blown there by Hurricane Ian. Which brings me to the main question of my video. Which is worse? Hurricane Ian or Vladimir Putin? Hurricane Ian and Vladimir Putin. Isn't that kind of interesting? Vladimir Putin starts with a V, and Hurricane Ian, I-A-N, if you put the V from Vladimir into Ian, you get Ivan. And do you remember Ivan the Terrible? Yeah, Ivan the Terrible. He was a Russian too, Ivan the Terrible. And he terrorized people. He was a terrorist. And he terrorized people, and he upset people, and he hurt people. Ivan the Terrible was a tyrant, and he was sadistic and cruel, and killed lots of people. Ivan the Terrible. So what do we know about Ivan the Terrible? Well, I don't know a lot about Ivan the Terrible. I just know that he killed a lot of people, and also maybe tortured people. But other than that, I don't know a lot about Ivan the Terrible. But I do know that Putin has been threatening us with nuclear war. He does this almost on a daily basis now, threatening us with nuclear war. And made a speech. He annexed 4 regions of the Ukraine into Russia, and he did a false election where he went door to door with guns to harvest people's ballots, and it was 96% wanted to join Russia. Like that was real. Like that was a real thing. It was a fake election. And see if people wanted to join Russia. It was a referendum, and he said it was that 96% of them wanted to join Russia, but they did it at gunpoint. They were armed and dangerous men coming to gather the ballots all together. And then they just reported whatever they felt like, right? Really ridiculous and disgusting. And then Vladimir Putin, on top of doing this fake election, this gesture that wasn't even valid, not even a valid vote. Kind of like American elections have been under question as well. But there aren't armed men forcing you to vote, but you know, numbers can be played with and manipulated. You could just say that the person got 96% of the vote. You could just say that. But Vladimir Putin threatened the West with nuclear war if any of his territory that he grabbed from the Ukraine is threatened by the West, that he would resort to nuclear war and attack the West with nuclear weapons. Which brings us to the question, which is worse, Hurricane Ian or Vladimir Putin, the modern Ivan the Terrible? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. Even though Hurricane Ian did a lot of destruction, it was like a nuclear bomb had hit Florida all over. Even though it did the most damage, and Putin hasn't done any damage yet, Putin is the greater threat. Putin is worse than Hurricane Ian. He's the greater threat. He's the modern day Ivan the Terrible. And Ivan the Terrible, modern day Ivan the Terrible, threatening the West with nuclear war. And this is the kicker. Okay, this is the kicker. Is Biden blameless in his approach to Putin? I would say no, he's not blameless in his approach to Putin, because he is expecting Putin to act like a good guy while he takes the unreasonable side. Biden wants to be the unreasonable one and force Putin to be reasonable. Like, Putin is such a nice guy, he would never use nuclear weapons against the West. He's such a nice guy that he would never even dream of using nuclear weapons against the West. And so Putin is expected to be more reasonable than Biden. Does that make any sense? Does it make sense to play a game of chicken to the very last second and see who chickens out and who drops down, who drops out of the arms race? That he's expecting Putin to bend. He's expecting Putin to be the more cool head and the more reasonable one, while he, Biden, is completely unbendable. Unbendable, won't give in, won't budge an inch, says that he'll defend every inch of NATO territory and threaten the West with nuclear war. Yeah, Biden is as guilty as Putin in this situation, because he is tempting Putin, who as far as we can tell, is a genocidal maniac. He's daring Putin to use the nuclear weapons. He's daring him, and that we can't tolerate that. We can't tolerate Biden playing a game of chicken to the last second and refusing to budge even 1 inch. And he says that he will make Ukraine NATO territory and that he'll defend it to the death. And it's our death, not Biden's death. He's privileged. He's safe. But everyone else has to die. Is that right? Is it right for Putin to be playing a game of chicken? And with all of the other blunders that Putin has made, or that Biden has made, all the blunders Biden has made in his administration, with Afghanistan, he dropped the ball in Afghanistan, and now is playing a game of chicken with Putin, and spent trillions of U.S. dollars right before this Hurricane Ian. So now there's no funds available for Hurricane Ian because the American taxpayers tapped out. I don't know what to say. It's just people who are still for Biden, who are supporting Biden just because he's a Democrat or just because of abortion, of all things. Just defending him because of abortion, the one issue voters that only care about abortion, whether they can have an abortion or not. It's not worth it. To me, it's not worth it. It's not worth me supporting Biden just on the abortion issue. Forget it. There's other things that are more important to me, like how I'm going to pay the bills next month, how I'm going to feed my family, and how I'm going to, survive. How am I going to survive? How am I going to live? So that's more important to me. That's more important to me than stinking abortion, that Biden thinks that I'm going to vote for him just for abortion rights. Now, neither one of these parties is perfect. Neither one of these parties is perfect, but have to vote Biden out of office. Can't allow him to stay. Can't allow him or his crew of Democrats to stay because of what he's done to our country and what he will do in the future with threatening nuclear war with Putin saying that he won't budge and he'll defend every inch of NATO territory. Biden is the unreasonable man, expecting the Putin to be reasonable with him and to bend. And Putin isn't willing to bend. This may be the very last video I make if Putin decides to launch a nuclear war, because after a nuclear war, guess what? No more videos. No more videos, no more technology, no more nothing. They'll be all gone. So just think about that. Think about that and think about what Biden has done. We can't have him for another 2 years. We just can't. We can't. I don't know how the country is going to survive. I don't know how the country is going to survive another 2 years of Biden. But we can make sure that the little bit of authority that's invested in the Congress because there's presidential executive orders, right? Might be able to put a check on Biden's unbridled power and his power to challenge Putin in a game of arms race, a game of chicken to the very end. Whatever Putin wants, Putin gets. And that's the way. I know Putin is insane. The things he has done clearly show that he's insane. He's mentally ill. And could have had it all. He threw it all away for his people just to gain this territory of Ukraine, which isn't that great. And I wouldn't risk all the financial futures of all of my people for stinking Ukraine. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Now, this is no offense to Ukrainians, okay? You're fine. Ukrainians are great. But let's face it, Ukraine is a poor country. Doesn't have a whole lot of resources. Russia has more resources than Ukraine. And all they've got is some power plants. But Russia has power plants too. All they need, really, Russia, is a path to the sea. But that's not even important, the path to the sea. There was no reason for what Putin did. So he is insane, okay? And I don't care what anyone else says or anyone else's opinion, okay? Putin is insane. And Biden should not be challenging him. Biden should not be challenging him. Putin even said this is not a bluff. Putin said this is not a bluff, that I will use the nuclear weapons. So, Biden sent $13 billion in weapons to Ukraine. $13 billion. That's more money than the richest man alive ever will make. He sent it all to Ukraine. It can't be tolerated. It just can't tolerate it. It's a bad situation, guys. Yes, Putin is more terrible than Hurricane Ian. He's the modern Ivan the Terrible. And we're about to see what Putin does in the next few months. But I'd just like to say that I think Biden is more at fault. He's a heavy sinner, that Biden. And I know he wants forgiveness from his Jesus, but it's hard to know if a person who starts a nuclear war is going to be saved. Person who starts a nuclear war, that is unforgivable. starting a nuclear war. So, Biden, bye bye, Biden. Bye bye, Biden. Bye bye, Biden. We're going to vote you out of office as soon as we possibly can. And it'll be a landslide victory for whoever opposes Biden. Because we can't have a nuclear war. We just can't. And I'm not going to have an abortion in a post-nuclear world. You wouldn't get abortions in a post-nuclear world. There wouldn't be any abortion doctors left. They'll all get bombed off the map. So, be reasonable. Be the reasonable one. And vote Biden out of office. Because he's insane. He's acting insane himself. He's either really, really stupid, which we know that he's not. He may not be the brightest bulb, but he's not stupid either. But he thinks this gamut of his will work. He thinks that this game of chicken is that he's going to win it. And he's not. He's going to lose for the whole world. He's made so many blunders and gaffes in his political career when it comes to foreign powers. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he could easily get us into a nuclear war. So, bye bye Biden. We're voting you out as soon as we possibly can. And voting any of your friends and cronies out of the Congress too. That's it. It's been nice talking to you. Don't get to make my videos as often as I would like anymore because of school. But I will endeavor. I will try to make my videos. I will try to make videos as often as I possibly can. And I'll see you next time.